Hello everyone, this is Showtime 112. The Spitfire and Hurricane are icons of British aviation, forever linked to the epic drama of the Battle of Britain in 1940. But what most people don't realize is that these two legendary fighters saw their very first combat action on September 6, 1939, and astonishingly, one ended up firing on and shooting down the other. How could something like that happen? Let's turn the clock back to the moment Britain declared war on Germany, September 3, 1939. Across the country, people braced themselves for what they believed would be immediate German bombing raids, and the tension in the air was electric. Britain hadn't been caught off guard. Preparations for a new kind of war had been underway for years. At the heart of these was the groundbreaking air defense system masterminded by Air Chief Marshal Sir Hugh Dowding, the leader of RAF Fighter Command. Dowding's vision was an integrated network, observer posts, anti-aircraft batteries, dispersed fighter airfields, and crucially, the brand new RDF, or Radio Direction Finding Stations, we now know as radars. The chain-home radar network, blanketing the eastern and southern coasts, offered Britain its first real chance to spot enemy bombers at long range. But this system was still in its infancy, riddled with bugs and teething problems. These glitches, combined with the sky-high tension, led to several false alarms. There was even a case barely an hour and a half after the war was declared, when fighters were scrambled to intercept the French military attaché returning to Britain. A sobering reminder of just how jumpy everyone was. On the foggy morning of September 6, a searchlight crew stationed on Mersey Island in the Thames estuary heard an unidentified aircraft overhead. In the thick mist, there was no way to visually confirm it. The station reported the contact up the chain to RAF's 11 Group headquarters. The exact identity of this airplane was never determined, the sources suggesting several possibilities. From there, orders went out to North Weald sector, launch fighters and investigate. Now the story you might have heard is that a single flight of 6 aircraft was meant to scramble, but the sector commander, erring on the side of caution, ordered the entire 56 squadron, 12 Hurricanes plus 2 reserves, into the air. But according to researcher Nick Black from the University of Suffolk, records tell a more complicated tale. His deep dive into RAF operations record books shows it was actually 151 Squadron's 12 Hurricanes that took off first from North Weald, with 56 Squadron launching 2 6-plane flights about 10 minutes later. 2 reserve aircraft, piloted by pilot officers Frank Rose and Montague Halton Harrop, also joined the pursuit. Meanwhile, just 10 miles south at Hornchurch, 74 Squadron scrambled all 12 of its Spitfires under the leadership of the legendary South African ace, Adolph Sailor Malan. By the time the dust settled, a staggering 116 fighters had been sent up, with another 24 standing by, all to investigate a single aircraft. So, why would so many fighters take to the skies over what turned out to be just one report? The fledgling RDF stations didn't provide the kind of clear radar displays we're used to today. The radars sent out their pulses in all directions, but couldn't reliably distinguish whether a return was coming from the east or the west. To prevent confusion between RAF flights and incoming Luftwaffe raids, there was a blocker device to filter out signals from the west and only display those from the east. But one chain home station, Canewdon, had a malfunction. Its blocker wasn't working, so when the first group of Hurricanes launched, their radar signatures were wrongly interpreted as enemy aircraft approaching from the east. To counter this new threat, more RAF fighters were sent up, creating the illusion of more enemy formations, and the confusion snowballed. At one point, the 12 Spitfires of 74 Squadron led by Malan spotted a group of planes near Ipswich. Over the radio, Malan barked, "Tally-ho, number 1, attack, go." The yellow section of A Flight, led by Flying Officer Vincent "Paddy" Byrne, dove towards the formation ahead. Flying Officer John Freeborn, his number 2, was close behind, observing the broad Vic formation in front, with 2 more aircraft trailing behind. Aircraft the two Spitfire pilots took to be Messerschmitt Bf-109 fighters, escorting the presumed enemy bombers. Freeborn opened fire, his bullet striking the target and fatally wounding the pilot with a shot to the back of the head. Burns' attack left his target riddled with holes, but the pilot miraculously escaped unharmed and crash-landed near Ipswich. The two planes shot down by Byrne and Freeborn were not German fighters, but two Hurricanes from 56 Squadron, piloted by Frank Rose and Montague Hulton Harrop. Hulton Harrop tragically became the first RAF fighter pilot killed in World War II. Byrne's victim, Frank Rose, was much luckier, surviving without injury. Byrne and Freeborn only learned of their dreadful mistake after touching down at Hornchurch. The shaken pair were promptly arrested and confined to quarters, facing a court-martial. Freeborn, just 19 years old, nearly repeated his error on the way home. Mistaking a twin-engined aircraft for a Junkers Ju-88, he prepared to fire. But his wingman, Sergeant John Flinders, courageously interposed his own plane, saving another British crew from disaster. The trial that followed was dramatic and controversial. Malan claimed he had given an urgent radio call to break off the attack after realizing the enemy were actually Hurricanes, but none of his pilots remembered hearing it. Researcher Nick Black suggests that one of the most distinguished RAF pilots of the Battle of Britain may have been telling the truth. Certain RAF fighters, often those flown by flight leaders, carried a device called pipsqueak. This mechanism was used to track friendly formations, and it transmitted a signal for 14 seconds every minute, using the aircraft's radio. However, it blocked standard voice communications while transmitting. So Malan's desperate recall could easily have gone unheard in the chaos. Ultimately, both Byrne and Freeborn were acquitted at their court-martial, the events declared a tragic accident of war. Freeborn died in 2010, haunted by the responsibility of having killed a fellow airman. This misfortune, later nicknamed the Battle of Barking Creek, despite happening nowhere near Barking Creek and being more of a confused skirmish than a battle, remains shrouded in a kind of RAF folklore. The exact reason for naming is still debated, but it likely stems from dark humor and popular culture of the time. A chain of errors led to this tragic friendly fire incident. A faulty radar filter at Canewdon, jittery, inexperienced pilots expecting the Luftwaffe's arrival at any moment, and the stress of a country just plunged into global conflict. In hindsight, it's striking that no one questioned the possibility of short-range Bf-109s operating over England, impossible at the time, considering the Luftwaffe was still based in Germany. But war, as this story powerfully shows, is never a clear cut, as we remember. The incident marked the first time a Spitfire ever shot down another aircraft, and the first Hurricane lost in combat. Montague Hulton Harrop, killed that day, became the first British fighter pilot to die in World War II. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, keep watching Showtime 112.